Hi everybody and welcome to Beyond Politics. I want you to imagine for a moment you wake up one morning and all the money in your bank account is gone. Completely gone. And imagine this happens 5 to 10 years from now when we are living in a completely cashless country. And how will you survive? You have no money in your bank and you can't use any savings of hard cash you have under your mattress or hiding somewhere in your house. There's no shop, no informal trader, no one left that accepts cash as legal tender. How will you survive? So I'll be looking at a number of news articles that show how the future is one of complete subservience to the state. Was it George Orwell who said that if you want to imagine the future, imagine a boot stamping on a face forever? And hopefully you'll see how here in South Africa we are not untouched, because our leaders, so-called leaders, our politicians, our political representatives, the parties in power currently, all of them uphold and perpetuate global institutions' vision for the world. And that is a problem. It's a problem for freedom. It's a problem if you care about individual liberty. So SARS, what is SARS up to? SARS got a huge budget injection, and they're using that to advance the AI technology to watch all of us and make sure that none of us are non-compliant. And they've been able to do this for a long time. They can look at your bank accounts, they can track your spending habits, they can see if what you're spending money on is equal to the amount of tax you're paying. And this has been a reality for a long time. And of course, they have been able to take money out of your bank account for a long time as well, but not many people have known about this. So yeah, I'll just do a little read for you. While some taxpayers may be surprised or even shocked to hear that the taxman can target their bank accounts directly, experts have noted that this is nothing out of the ordinary. An associate director and head of strategic engagement and compliance at Tax Consulting SA has said that SARS can instruct a bank to empty its accounts and pay a tax debt due without the account holder's authorization. So this article goes on to just reinforce that if you feel like you owe SARS money, rather approach SARS first and create some kind of payment plan instead of this happen to you. But I think it's an awful reality that we live in. There's no escape from the system at all. There's no opt-out. There's no unsubscribe. You are completely subservient to the government, and it's unacceptable. The government obviously is very hungry for more money, as we have seen in the budget speeches and with the VAT increase and all the rest. And now with AI technology being used to make sure that everyone's compliant, this will increase the government's revenue, which will increase the government's power. But at the end of the day, what are we paying for? We are paying for a completely useless government that's just enriching a very, very, very small minority of people and completely destroying the infrastructure of the country and the strength of the state and everything else included. So this is an injustice, but I want you to think about the power government has and the steps SARS is taking with the context of a cashless future. And a cashless future, I remember a few years ago, was considered a conspiracy theory to talk about. People would think you're a conspiracy nut, but now it's everywhere. It's been spoken about in many countries, and South Africa is no different. In fact, there was an article I read quite a while ago that predicted that South Africa will be completely cashless by 2032, if I'm not mistaken. That's 7 years from now. 7 years from now isn't too far off. And my children will be adults by then, and the world will look very different if the government and the world gets its way. By the world, I mean global institutions. So the South African Reserve Bank has created a roadmap, I think, of 17 different points. And this roadmap outlines how to get South Africa to a point of complete cashlessness. Included in the roadmap, of course, is education initiatives, educating women, educating people in rural areas, educating youth, making sure people understand the future that we are headed towards. Instead of, empowering people to change the future, no, we don't do that, do we? Some of the other changes are reliable internet and mobile network coverage. So, you can travel around South Africa, you can go to quite far out rural places and have poor signal. I actually think that's a wonderful thing. I think it's wonderful that you can be in a metro where everything's fast paced and there's lots of connectivity on many levels, and then you can wander into the rural oasis, wilderness, or whatever, and have a lack of signal and have a break from the crazy noise of the world. But now, not a single part of South Africa will be untouched, making sure that there's reliable internet and mobile network coverage everywhere, making sure that energy sources are leveraged so that there's uninterruptible power supplies, making sure that offline payments are possible. And this is the future. And then, of course, number 8, I'm not going to go through all of the 17 action points, but number 8 is digital identity, and that's something we spoke about quite a lot in the past year. A digital identity has its conveniences, of course, but it definitely takes away individual liberty. We don't want to live in a world where the government can know everything you're doing at every moment, and that's what a digital identity can definitely lead towards. Scarily, yeah. Points 10 and 11 is a digitization of payments across all sectors, including transportation and the selling of produce and the purchasing of seeds and fertilizer and other related supplies in the agricultural sector. I found that one quite fascinating. And then the digitization of the transport sector, and this includes the digitization of short and long distance taxi payments, such as the use of QR codes, contactless payments, etc. So that's the future for you, where you can't even get on a taxi and use money anymore. You can't even go buy some vegetables by the lady on the corner by the taxi rank. That's not going to be possible in the future. So the informal sector is not exempt from a cashless South Africa. In fact, it seems to me that there's going to be a focus on digitizing the informal sector. And if you have such a controlled informal sector, well, then there really is no freedom left at all. And that's quite a bleak future, actually. So that's what the South African Reserve Bank is planning. That's their roadmap. And obviously the government's in full support, not only the government, but global institutions, as well as private South African businesses. There's many stakeholders that are supporting a cashless future. And I think that's a complete threat to individual liberty, because in a country that is free, there should be a way to sidestep the formal economy. There should be an alternative economy. There should be a very vibrant and strong informal economy, and the government shouldn't be so power hungry and greedy, but this is the situation we're in currently. So what is the way forward? Is there hope? And I definitely think there is. I think we can direct our own futures if we take action, and I think that's the part where everything falls apart, because everyone's just waiting for things to change, waiting for things to happen, but not taking action of them for themselves. And the reality is, how you spend your money, where you spend your money, and things you spend your money on is sometimes some of the most powerful actions you can take to disempower those in power. So we can make the decision ourselves collectively to use more cash, to make sure there's a lot of cash remaining in the system, to make sure that whenever these organizations do their polls and create their statistics, that they can see that a large, vibrant portion of the population is still very interested in using cash. Or we can just go with the flow and swipe ourselves into the fourth industrial revolution and lose all our freedom. And the power really lies within each of us to collectively make decisions that are in favor of freedom and not in favor of complete subservience to the government. So what are you going to do? I'd love to know in the comments. Will you be using more cash out of principle? I think I certainly will. Or will you just continue swiping? Will you continue with your digital payments? I know it's convenient to just click away on your banking app, or to purchase things online instead of going to a shop. But when you make those decisions, you are paying your way into a global government system of complete digitization. And when you make those decisions to purchase online instead of going to the shop, to swipe your card or your snap scan or whatever instead of paying cash, you are making the decision yourself for the future that is in favor of the fourth industrial revolution. you are voting for your future through your economic actions. And I'd love to know in the comments, are you actually going to do something about this, or are we just going to consumerize ourselves into a future where there is no freedom, where what George Orwell says comes to light? The future is a boot stamping on your face forever.